Theo Dorsey here with ESPN West Palm and ESPN Top 63, joined by LaDaris Vann, the newly minted head football coach at Fort Pierce Westwood. You played ball in the area at Fort Pierce Central and at Spanish River back in the 90s. You're a former Bills receiver. You're a record-setting wide receiver at the University of Cincinnati, and now you take your talents back to the Treasure Coast. About to start your first year of head coaching. Just first and foremost, thanks for joining me, and secondly, how does it feel to kind of be back in an area where it all started for you?
It feels so surreal, man. I'm very happy. I'm very honored, and it's bigger than. At the end of the day, it's bigger than football. It's about giving back to my community the best way I can, and just paying it forward. You know what I mean? I'm very blessed for this opportunity. Trust me, when I got this call about the opportunity, I wasn't looking for a head coaching job. You know what I mean? It just fell on my lap, and then from here, I told my couple of my friends about 4 years ago, if an opportunity came in my area, I'd take that coaching job because I was actually coaching several different years in Georgia at some capacity, and I kept telling them no. And I just thought my 10-year-olds were more important than going to coach and being an absentee dad because there's a lot of hours that you have to put in this job. So I found the right opportunity to come back with families and friends and people I went to school with. I'm coaching their kids, so it's a big opportunity, a great opportunity, and I'm not taking it for granted.
I saw a video that was out there. I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about, of you giving a passionate speech at a some kind of restaurant. I'm believing it was to the Fort Pierce Westwood athletes or parents, people involved.
Yes, alumni. Yes,
Alumni.
parents,
Okay.
alumni. Yes,
Who was the man? Because in that
yes.
speech, you talked about how there was somebody who poured into you at 9 years old when you said that, in your own words, you were a bit lost and you wouldn't be here if not for that person. Who was that, and how was he integral in getting you to take this job at Fort Pierce Westwood?
Man, it was Terrence Hart. That is my God that I call. That's who I call. If I'm speaking of anything about dad, that's who I'm talking about. My godfather, which took me in at 9 and showed me the ropes and ways to not and how to do things. He took me in at 9. He became my youth football coach. He came on and said that somebody told him that his best player went out there, and he came to my house, and one day it came to my house, and it's all started from there. And then he just seen the type of life I was living and everything. He stepped in and was that father figure that I didn't have.
What was it that he saw then, and why were you willing to trust yourself with him at that young age? Obviously, it worked out, but what
Yeah.
was that interaction like early? Because I'm only imagining a 9-year-old who's like, all right, this is my coach, but I mean, like, this is my crib.
At the end of the day, he showed me something that I didn't have. He showed me that he cared. You know what I mean? Growing up with in a household with nothing but women and as adults, and my mom not now gone. My mom was actually a ag at the time. You know what I mean? You have my auntie and all them. That's the only people that I had. Then it was a father, a male figure that came in there and showed me discipline. Did I like it at the time? No, I did not. I did not. But he showed me that tough love is the best love. And I was pulling away from it, but he just kept pulling me back and say, "This is what you need." And I didn't understand. I didn't thank him until my freshman year high college. That's when I decided I had to thank him because my senior year when I graduated. I wasn't talking to him. We had a falling out and everything like that. And and I realized what he instilled in me was the core key values of being a man and being responsible. You know what I mean? Where I came from wasn't, people say that you don't supposed to make it out of that. And and a lot of people doubted me. Like a lot of people told him, why you putting that time into him when he's going to do nothing but fail you. From his family members to his people that he's with. You know what I mean? They did not. liked the relationship, but something in him told him to stay by my side, and all I can say is say thanks to him, and look at me now.
And look at you now, talking to again LaDaris Vann, the newly minted head coach of Fort Pierce Westwood, now back in your hometown, not coaching the school that you technically played for in Fort Pierce Central, but your rival. I'm going to get into that side of it in a little bit because I'm sure I know that that's secondary to the reasoning why you came back. But just sticking on topic here, like for you, what do you think it was that helped you break through to realize what he was doing in your life, and how is that going to help you connect with some players here as you're going to be coaching people who come from a similar city to you, and some might come from a similar background?
Just the opportunity, man. It's all about, reaching out, seeing what you have, and communicating with the kids. My job is, like I always tell my kids, my job is to be the organizer. And I let my kids understand and run this team. But I'm the organizer. You cannot be a successful coach if you don't have great leaders within the team. So, I cannot coach everybody the same. But if I see, and I always leave a open door open for my kids to come to me if they need anything. I always say, if there's anything that I can do for you that's legal, I would do it for you. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, my job is to aid the kids to be successful. I had a speech today to them. At the end of the day, that my job is to make sure that I teach you everything that you need to be, not only as a football player, but as a young man. And then also, my job is to try to get every kid that's recruitable recruited.
And that's something you get a lot of kids that are recruitable that come through the hallways of Fort Pierce Westwood. Another side of your job, though, is the fact that that's the state of high school sports in general, specifically football. A lot of moving around, a lot of talent leaving the area. How much has it already helped for Fort Pierce Westwood having somebody who's from the area, who knows the area? How much has it helped you put a fence around some of the talent that you already have in the school so far?
I don't know. It's hard to judge. You know what I mean? I know some parents, a couple of my players that I play with, their parents kept their kids here because I was coaching. I lost some that didn't know I was coming, that wish they would have known I was coming. But at the end of the day, it's still how you connect with that kid, because most parents are letting that kid make that decision. I lost a kid that, I grew up with his parents. I grew right across the street from his parents when I was 4 or 5 years old. We grew up knowing each other. We still, what I mean? They called me by my nickname. But that kid decided to leave because they was trying to get him to stay. And I told them this question. I told them this. I always tell the parent, let the kid make his own decision, because at the end of the day, I don't want him playing for me if he don't want to play for me.
Mm.
They gotta want to do it. I had a nephew that was, jumping. He went to Fort Pierce Central, and his mom them said they wanted to play for me, but I told them to let him make that decision, because at the end of the day, it's his senior year. I want him to make that decision and be at peace that whatever decision he makes.
That's a great level of maturity and also selflessness coming from you again, LaDaris Vann, newly minted leader of Fort Pierce Westwood. Uh, how much do you, and obviously you want to win every game you roll the team out there to play for, but how high on the priority list is creating a winning culture and winning football games with this team, especially early on? Because I know you're going to have to start building it from the studs up because of just, again, how the transfer portal, quote unquote, works in high school.
As long as I prepare myself and my team, we can win as many games as possible. I always say preparation is the cost of opportunity. So every opportunity that we have to go out on the field, if we prepare and we make sure that our kids are prepared, what's going to happen? The outcome is how you prepare your team, and like I always tell my kids, that what we do in this weight room, what we do on this field would dictate how we perform on the field. So let's go hard at all times. So I want to win greatly. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, but it's only so much I can do as a coach, or the coaches can do as coaches. All we can do is lead them to the water. They got to drink it.
What does drinking look like in year one?
Very well. Very well. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? That you say that, man, I have a very high belief and confidence in my team. That, like I tell them each and day, I see more in you guys than you see in yourself. And it shouldn't be like that. You know what I mean? I shouldn't. They have this thing called glazing. I don't know, when you tell somebody that they good or something, like, oh, stop glazing them, coach. Like, I see potential. I think I have the best receivers. I think I have the best running back. I think these things. I think I have one of the best cornerbacks in all of Florida. I mean, running backs and cornerbacks in all of Florida. And I tell them every day, you just got to apply yourself. You have to work, because your ability is not going to get you where you need to be at. You have to work to be great, and you're not getting your greatness out because you're not working. You just going off athletic ability. What about if you put work on that? What's going to happen?
When did that click for you then? Like as a student athlete, like you said, you had the talent. People saw that since you were 9 years old. When they told your coach, who would eventually become like your godfather, your best player is not here at practice. Like when were you able to mold the ability with the work ethic to become a person who, again, not only excelled at high school at Fort Pierce Central and then at Spanish River, but then also at the University of Cincinnati with the Buffalo Bills and the Canadian Football League. Like, you've had a great storied football career. What made it click?
It's always clicked. Like, a lot of people don't know my baseball was my best sport, but that's neither here nor there.
Talk
But
about it. Talk about it. You can't
like,
just start it out there and not tell me more about the
yeah,
football background.
yeah, I was highly recruited for baseball. I had a couple offers for baseball, but back then baseball wasn't paying your scholarships or anything. I couldn't afford to, pay half of my scholarship going to college. So, I mean, I took that opportunity. A lot of people don't know that I had all the big offers. I ended up losing my offers, being a hard head. So these are all the things that I tell my kid, that when they make mistakes, I made mistakes too. And that's why I'm here to help y'all correct y'all mistakes before they cost y'all something. So that's why I'm here. And I probably never got it. I probably still regret some things that I could have done. We don't have the ability to go training. And if I did, I didn't have the money to go training. I wasn't at practice because my grandma couldn't afford the $25 to pay for me to play. So that's why I wasn't at practice.
Mm.
All through youth, some coach or somebody had to pay for me. We did not have you know, the funds or the necessities to pay for extracurricular activities. So if it wasn't in school, after school sports that was free, I couldn't play unless someone paid for it.
That's incredible. I thought what you were alluding to was you were just being a knucklehead and you skipped practice. No, you didn't have the funds to play that year, so you didn't think you were going to be playing football that season.
No, I didn't.
And then what would life be like if you did not play football that season? And I'm guessing going forward, because like you said, I mean, that became the thing that got you into college. That became the thing that also, of course, is bringing you back here to now impact your community.
Hey, I say everything happens for a reason. I don't know the reason or the why, but God puts you in places and people in places at the right time to push you forward. So, and that's all I can say about that situation, because I don't know where I would be at. And I'm just thankful for all the people that was put in my life, from my wife to my father. I'm not doing this right now if it weren't for my wife. She blessed me with the opportunity. Go live your dream. Go do what you want to do. You've been talking about this for all your life. You know what I mean? So she is part of the reason that I get to live out my passion. You know what I mean? And just knowing the needs and wants of these kids, that's why I'm here. to make sure everything is done.
That's we're looking forward to seeing the impact you have. Looking forward to seeing y'all on Friday nights and on through the year. And I'm glad. I know that Coach Coquel did a wonderful job over the past few years. I'm glad that Fort Pierce Westwood is also blessed enough to be able to transition into you after his tenure. We'll be watching and rooting for not just the success of your student athletes as young men, but also on the field. Any parting words here? I'm just curious. Do you have a motto yet for the team? Do you have a theme going for the summer workouts? Like, what's a feel for what Westwood is going to be like under you right now?
One team, one mission. One team, one mission. We got to get better 1% each and every day. One thing I like to say, I like to thank the coaches that's on board. We have a great coaching staff. We have some heavy hitters. You know what I mean? We have guys like Yamon Figures coming on. You know what I mean? We have great guys that's coming on board. Stu Reese. You know, he played in the SEC, and the likes of Yamon Figures. He played for Baltimore Ravens and everything like that. So we just trying to build a coaching staff that complement these kids to make sure that they get the necessities and everything that they need. And then I like to thank God for giving me this opportunity. I like to thank the principal and the AD, Mr. Alfonso as the principal, and then James Gardner as the AD for believing in me and giving me this opportunity and trying to get me the resources to get this thing that this school needs to be successful. So that's all, I mean, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you guys about the opportunity that I received.
It's totally our pleasure, and I appreciate you taking our time after another good football meeting to spend some time with us. Coach LaDaris Vann, one team, one mission. Looking forward to seeing Westwood this year.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.